Thank you, Cahill. And firstly, I want to welcome the Minister. And I suppose in preparing for today, I took a look at Sláintecare and the document, the progress report, January to June 2021. Sláintecare, the right care. It says the byline is the right care, the right place, and the right time. Wouldn't it be great if that was actually the case? But I do take on board, and I want to say at the very outset that there were three major issues that the Minister identified rightly in his earlier speech here today, and they are the kernel of the problem. And when they're listed in this document, they say they are significant challenges. They're highlighted in a green, amber and red system here that you'd be familiar with, Minister, and these three are from three significant challenges. These are very significant challenges. They're identified as that by your officials in the department and the Minister. The implementation of the multi-annual waiting list reduction plan, the implementation of the e-health system and the development of the regional health areas. And I think that's very, very significant because they're not minor things. There may be three, but they're the three of the most significant things as set out, as identified in this report. So when you look back, the vision for Sláintecare is to achieve a universal, single-tier health and social care system where everyone has equitable access to services based on their need and not their ability to pay. That's the strapline. That's the major line that was announced in the press release back when it was launched with great ambition in 2017. And I think that's great that we have ambition for our health services. And the ambition promised a reform of our healthcare system and an end to the two-tier divide between public and private healthcare. And the resignations clearly of two significant members in the Implementation Advisory Council is of concern, real concern. And how that was communicated internally to the Minister and the Secretary-General raises very serious questions, because it raises questions about communication, it raises questions about confidence, and it raises issues around team, the team that we have entrusted our healthcare system to. And the lack of communication and who saw fit to tell who raises very, very serious questions and doesn't instil confidence in a system. So the key concerns clearly are about a commitment to provide for the regional structures of the HSE. And we see that the HSE has got too big. And yes, there are arguments made in relation to COVID, how it handled that, and there was a centre and it brought in and people seem to know what they're doing. Yet we see this monolith that is the HSE. There are issues about accountability. You know well, Minister, about accountability in the health service, and indeed I commend you for many of our contributions in this House about the shortcomings of the health service, but not just to talk about the shortcomings, but to see and identify areas where we can address those shortcomings and those problems, and I want to acknowledge that. So the key question arises, if the political establishment is fully supportive, is fully behind it, is the HSE and the political establishment united in the approach and the delivery? So we've got to end a situation where better off people can skip the queues. That's the reality of it. I spoke to someone the other day who couldn't even get cover from VHI for a scan over in the Beacon and had to go and pay a few €100 to another company in another part of Sandyford for serious potential issues around cancer of their throat. They had to pay hundreds of euros. I mean, this is outrageous. These even have public and private. I mean, it's crazy. So we need to talk about, are we really committed to providing universal free access to GPs? Are we serious about reducing the waiting lists? And time again, I stand up here and I talk about the 907,000 people. 907, just short of 1 million people who are waiting for treatment of some form. An increase of 66,000 people in 12 months. And I understand the COVID issues, I understand the IT issues and all the various setbacks and the challenges. I'm not unrealistic to accept that, and I know you do too. But we have to be realistic. You know, the Irish Hospital Consultants Association, the IHCA, would you be very familiar, were scathing in relation to the progress about this report, in relation to Sláintecare, and they expressed deep concern about the waiting lists, the resignations and the lack of meaningful solutions. So, Minister, I think it's of concern, but I'm particularly concerned about how we are going to address this near 1 million people, Irish people here waiting for service. And finally, I wrap up. I spoke earlier on, I was very disappointed by the department's response to the 172 children with scoliosis. That was the subject of a Claire Byrne interview last week. And the Taoiseach, your leader, said there was some sort of systemic failure in the system. But today we had someone on behalf of the department talking about it, but there was no solutions. There was no dates for these 172 children. And the fact that some of them had 2 and 3 and 4 appointments cancelled. So I'm very concerned about that, Minister. I know you are too. And they're just some issues that I want to share with you in the small time that we have. But again, I want to thank you for coming to the House. Thank you.